Bitcoin, DeFi. I've been talking about it since the ordinals protocol went live about a year ago, and it finally hit me like, wow, the inscriptions allow there to be NFT like tokens on Bitcoin. That means there could be DeFi one day. And I had a Twitter space on Friday um, with Eric. His Twitter handle is BRC20s, BRC20, BRC20 Eric. I think that's his handle. I'll link it down below. That space was amazing. The Bitcoin developer, he talked about all the different developments on Bitcoin that look like DeFi primitives, right? And I'm gonna zip through them, and I'll link everything down below so that you can look into it yourself. If you don't believe me, well, too bad. First of all, we had stacks, staking involving Bitcoin, but now you hear layer twos, side chains. We have BRC20s, ARC20s, ARC20s, stamps, inscriptions. Now there are inscriptions on Doge, Solana, Cosmos. I think what makes the biggest difference here is when you could have different tokens on a network, right? You have native assets on Bitcoin. Those are the BRC20s, the ARC20s. We had stamps, kind of like NFTs, not really. You had inscriptions, a little bit more like NFTs, but not really. And now we're going to look at what I consider to be, more than just the signs of DeFi coming. This is DeFi right now on Bitcoin. Let's bring it in. We're starting here on an app called Liquidium. This is lending. Right? BRC20 lending, ordinal inscription lending. Looks like it hasn't launched yet. You could earn a yield. Lending. Bitcoin frogs. If you haven't heard my sob story about Bitcoin frogs, I could have bought them for 30 bucks. I didn't. And now they're a couple $1,000, it looks like. Bitmaps. Bitmaps just launched recently. They went from like 15 bucks to like 25,000 US dollars. Bitcoin puppets, never heard of. But look, I think I have one. I got to double check. I might have one. But man, oh man, Bitcoin bandits, I think I have. No, I don't have one of those. But anyway, ordinal inscription lending. It's kind of like DeFi. It's exactly like DeFi. But that's the first one. Again, it's called Liquidium. You connect your wallet here, and looks like they use the Xverse wallet. I use Xverse on my phone. I don't know how it is as a browser extension. I use Leather, right? Because it gives you a Bitcoin address. It gives you an ordinals address, which is different than your Bitcoin address, and a stacks address. Xverse might be exactly the same thing, just a different wallet. But yeah, the one complaint I have so far about DeFi on Bitcoin, NFTs on Bitcoin, is that you can't use any wallet you want. The different platforms will prefer different wallets. That's the only real complaint that I have. Ordinals wallet is a marketplace, right? It's a marketplace, and you could go in here. You could actually, you could do your own inscriptions here. There's some data. It looks like you could trade Bitcoin. There's a dashboard for creators. There's your wallet and all that. I don't know what that is. That's not my address. So that's it. And they even have a Doge side of this as well. But BRC20 Ordi, these are inscriptions, and yeah, and you could buy BRC20s just like a DEX, kind of, but not really. It's not an AMM, but it is a marketplace. The way, as far as I can tell, these are fungible tokens, right? The BRC20s. The way you buy and sell them is a lot different than an AMM like Uniswap or Osmosis or whatever. What happens is, let's say I have, 10,000 Ordi tokens. I put offers up on the market for, let's say I want to sell 1,000 of my tokens. I put 1,000 tokens up for a price, and then someone can accept or just bypass my offer. It kind of is like when you list an NFT, someone has to buy the whole NFT. Here, I put like bundles of my tokens. They have to buy it in the increments that I set on the marketplace. But it's the beginning of a marketplace. It's a marketplace. It just doesn't look like an AMM. I shouldn't say it's a beginning of a marketplace. It's a marketplace. This is what it looks like now on Bitcoin. That's one of them. Magic Eden, we've looked at before. That's a marketplace for inscriptions. Here's one called Bionic with a Q instead of a C. And again, you're just, I mean, it looks like a marketplace, right? It looks, got a lot, got different collections. And I just bought some inscriptions the other day on a website that was brand new, different marketplace. I wanted to make a video on that. I didn't include it in here, but there's options. There's options. There's competing marketplaces now. Bitcoin's first ZK rollup. So now we have privacy. We have the privacy element showing up on Bitcoin, right? Citria is the first rollup that enhances the capabilities of Bitcoin with zero knowledge technology, making it possible to build everything on Bitcoin, right? And ZK rollups, these are when they kind of batch transactions, and then they don't put every detail of every transaction on the main chain. Um, there's some privacy there, right? All the details of the transaction are not available. This is the fastest way to explain ZK rollups. Um, the other way to explain ZK rollups is the analogy that you hear all the time. Let's say I want to go to a bar and then the bouncer checks my ID. How can I prove that I'm 21 without giving him my ID? Right? There has to be a way to do that to maintain some privacy. I don't want the bouncer to look at my address. I don't want him to look at my last name, right? So ZK rollups, they allow for that. They allow for the bundling of transactions to make it cheaper. They can help with scaling. And yeah, here we go. Citria, a ZK rollup, Bitcoin's first. ZK rollup, there will be many more. There will be many more. Couple more. Couple more. Um, here's Atomic Finance, and this is basically a yield app, right? To actually earn return on your Bitcoin. We just heard in the last segment about the VC raise for Omega, $6 million to generate yield, to develop a protocol that generates yield with Bitcoin. Here we have another one. It looks like there's already a mobile app coming soon. But yeah, I'll take 7% APY on my Bitcoin. I obviously have to look at the risks, but my Bitcoin just sits there. It doesn't do much for me. And here we go. I mean, here's a timeline, and basically they're going to be an alternative to what we just talked about with Celsius, right? Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi, Genesis getting sued big right now in the state of New York, but all of this money was locked up. It was unavailable, confiscated, whatever you want to call it, because it was a centralized platform. This looks to be a decentralized solution to earn yield on Bitcoin. Here we go. Layer 2 Labs. Layer 2 Labs is a really interesting one. I've listened to a couple of their spaces. So they envision a world where you have Bitcoin as this super secure, super valuable network. The Bitcoin token, right, obviously pays gas on that network. And they envision a bunch of side chains. They call them drive chains that do specific things, kind of like in Cosmos, how we have app chains. And I was listening to the space, and they said, look, we could set up these drive chains, like these side chains to Bitcoin. We could launch altcoins on them. What's the advantage of that? Well, first of all, you don't piss off the Bitcoin maxis or screw with the Bitcoin network itself. You do everything on these side chains, and Bitcoin is just there to secure it, right? So you could do some DeFi on these side chains. You don't have to mess with the Bitcoin chain itself. I think this would be appealing to a lot of the Bitcoin maxis. And here it says here, gives people what treats disagreements as opportunities for progress. And then you avoid these situations where hard forks are inevitable, right? Or you have these people that are fearing change. Like right now, a lot of people do not like inscriptions, right? They consider it spam. I understand that. But I think in Bitcoin's case, change is going to be good. It has to progress to kind of maximize all the other developments across DeFi and other chains, but being able to do it with Bitcoin, I think, is a huge advantage. What we're seeing right now is a move for Bitcoin mass adoption, right? So, what's better than having mass adoption and all this increased functionality on the network? DeFi on Bitcoin. Okay, here's Stacks. So, this is liquid staking. So, Stacks is a proof of stake network You buy the stacks token, you stake it, you earn in Bitcoin. I'm staking my stacks. They call it stacking. Now they have liquid stacking because if we're in proof of stake, we know the problem with staking. You stake your tokens, and for at any given time, 60-70% of all the tokens on an entire network, they could be staked. And then a bunch of the other ones could be stuck in liquidity pools. That means there's nothing to transact, right? So liquid staking unlocks that liquidity for a fee with a little bit of additional risk, and you could at least do stuff with the tokens while your original tokens are being staked, earning a yield. This is stacks, right? And their liquid staking derivative, it's called ST stacks, staked stacks. So you stake your stacks tokens, you earn a yield in Bitcoin, but they give you this liquid staking derivative. I mean, it means how all liquid staking works, for the most part. And again, this is using Bitcoin. And by the way, there are liquidity pools on stacks. Um, I don't have any up here on the stream, but we will look at those. We will look at those. I'll do a tutorial, something, because there's stuff to do on Bitcoin. There's stuff to actually do.